Alrighty, so on a bit of a short notice, I am going to quickly do the preview of the 6 games that's going to be happening in the middle of the week. And despite the fact that the majority of these games doesn't happen till tomorrow, the reason why I say it's a short notice is because at the time of this recording, the first game I'm going to talk about between LAFC versus DC United actually kicked off about an hour and a half from now. Now, in terms of this game, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. DC United have a 6-4-14 record, which is the worst record in MLS, while LAFC have the best record in MLS with a 17-3-4 record. And in terms of the all-time meeting, it's only 2 prior meeting as LAFC has that 1 lone win and 1 draw against DC United. That 1 lone win was a pretty big one, 4-0 win on the road against DC United, and then they got a 1-1 draw against DC United. And I believe I was actually at that game. I was actually at this game back in 2018 when LAFC was in the league, and I think made a Sports Hub series episode about that game and how that was kind of a surprise, considering DC wasn't doing well and LAFC, at least in their early life in MLS, was actually doing pretty good. But in terms of this game itself, well, it's a battle between the team that has the best record and the team with the worst record. Usually when that happens, it probably means it's going to be a blowout. And there could be a case that it could be because, LAFC are just hitting on all cylinder right now, while DC United are just not only in a free fall, but they're still trying to get in terms of the early growing pains of their time under Wayne Rooney, and that it's pretty clear that this team is still very incomplete and are already thinking about the offseason and CU 2023 mode. So yeah, don't be surprised. This could be something similar to what we saw when LAFC did against Charlotte FC. But hey, this is MLS, and the narrative of anybody can beat anybody can still be true. I mean, is this the case where DC can maybe pull off an upset or even get a draw out of this one? I know a lot of people will say a surprise, but small part of me will say that is just peak MLS if we see the worst team in the league, that is DC United, to be the one to pull off the upset to beat the team that's leading the supporter shield, that is LAFC. But again, most likely that maybe is not going to happen, and most likely I feel like this, again, it's going to be similar to the last game that LAFC played against Charlotte. The first half, DC is going to try to pack it in, and they thought that they maybe can get themselves a result, only for LAFC just kind of steamroll them in the second half of this game. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, and now start to kind of talk about serious playoff serious playoff 6-pointers and serious playoff combination in terms of these games, because again, we're at that part of the season where every points matter whenever you have like a playoff 6-pointer. And the first one, we have Atlanta United versus the New York Red Bulls. I don't know now, but the New York Red Bulls not only are struggling right now, but they are getting caught up by those teams that has been kind of in that mesh of the Eastern Conference. I mean, I talk about the Western Conference a lot of being a mesh. The East right now is even a bigger mesh of the standings. I mean, between 4 all the way down to 13, I think it's only separated by 7 points. Like, that is just incredibly tight, as we are now just down to about 9 match weeks left, and a lot of these teams have only 9 games left after, or 8 games left after they play this match week. And for Atlanta, 7-8-9, while the Red Bulls have a 10-7-8 record. This game will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, we know that whenever both of these teams face against each other, the Red Bulls always tends to have Atlanta United number, even during the days when both of these teams were considered the superior team in the Eastern Conference. They have a 7-4-2 record over Atlanta, and the last 5 head-to-head matchup, it was a 2-1 win that the Red Bulls had against Atlanta. Then a 0-0 draw between both of these teams, and then a 0-0 draw between both of these teams, and then a 1-0 win that the Red Bulls had against Atlanta, and then a 0-0 draw between both of these teams. So safe to say, goal scoring has not been a thing in most of these games. I mean, there's been only 4 goals that's been scored in these last 5 games, and I expect maybe this could be the same case too. Though again, I also won't be surprised that the favorites coming in this game might be the Red Bulls, because again, it feels like this season the Red Bulls are more comfortable playing on the road than they are playing at home, and that's just, again, completely against what MLS wisdom usually say, but it's just kind of the style that they have, and they get to play against an Atlanta team that, again, they're just trying to break out of this inconsistent form so they can really make a run to make it to the playoffs. But moving on in terms of the next match, and speaking of a playoff six-pointer, we also got another one between Toronto FC versus the New England Revolution. And if you remember, both of these teams met each other not long ago, and the refs were the one that pulled off a big victory against Toronto FC. And now let's see if TFC can, or actually no, I'm sorry. Last time both of these teams met each other, it was actually a 0-0 draw. Think about the matchup last season. That of course New England got a big win, but no. This season it was a 0-0 draw, and that was the game that I also remember TFC, of course, missed a penalty, and I think it was Benedeschi the one that, or no, not Benedeschi, it was Insigne the one that, of course, took the penalty, and he missed it, and that, again, those 3 points that TFC could have had against New England, you wonder would that, of course, come back to haunt them, but that being said, they do have a chance to make amends of it as they play against New England. Like I said, 8-9-7 is the refs' record, while TFC have an 8-5-12 record. This game will also start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. New England has a 14-12-10 record over TFC, and the last 5 head-to-head matchup, as I mentioned, last time both of these teams faced against each other, which was not long ago, 0-0 draw. It was a 2-1 win that New England has against TFC. Then TFC actually won 3-2 against New England before TFC did win 1-0 on the road against the Revs before it was a 0-0 draw for both of these teams. And again, it's safe to say that both of these teams are definitely desperate to get 3 points. I mean, for TFC, yes, they got themselves back in the playoff race, but again, knowing the fact that they're also a team that have played one more game than most of the team around them, that they need to keep resort, and especially that this game is also at home. It feels like TFC is following that old formula of win your home games and get your draw, and somehow you'll get yourself into the playoffs, and that's going to be something that TFC are looking to do, because I think ever since they acquired Insigne and Benedeschi, they have not lost a single home game. While for New England, again, that red line feels like Sisyphus is pushing the rock right now, because it just feels like they just could not get above the red line. Even after that big win last week, they still somehow are not above the red line, albeit, if the playoffs did start today, they would be the first team out, and they actually do have a game in hand over the team that is above them, that is Inter Miami. But like I said, what a big game this is, and that both of these teams would definitely want to get 3 points to get themselves either in a better position of making the playoffs, or most likely going to go above the red line. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is NYCFC versus Charlotte FC. Now, I talked about Charlotte before having a very tough schedule to end the season, and maybe a lot of people might have write them off. Well, out of all the tough games that they have for the remaining of the season, this one is probably the most winnable one, because NYCFC has really struggled ever since Tati Castellanos left this team, and really ever since Ronnie Delia had left this team. Under Nycfc, they have not been the same team as we've seen in the beginning of the season. But they still do have a 12-6-6 record, while for Charlotte, 9-2 and actually not 4. They actually lost 14 games. I mean, that would be an incredible record for Charlotte. They would have been at the top of the standings, but no, they have a 9-2-14 record. As this game will start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 8:08 p.m. local time. Now, this game, of course, will be played at Red Bull Arena, which insert all the jokes about NYCFC being homeless and once again have to play in their rival stadium as a home game. And also, this is the first ever meeting between both of these teams. And again, I think this is the last team that Charlotte has not play in terms of the Eastern Conference, because I'm pretty sure they have faced every single team by now, which also tells me that both of these teams, of course, will be facing against each other once again when they do play in the latter part of the season. But like I said, for Charlotte, this is a great opportunity to get 3 points, especially NYCFC, knowing the fact that Red Bull Arena and using that as their home has not been kind to them. I mean, in terms of playing at home, they've been very comfortable when they play at Yankee Stadium and also at Citi Field at times. But when it comes to Red Bull Arena, that has been a different story. And not to mention with the goal-scoring woes that they've been going through. Well, actually, it wasn't really the goal-scoring woe in the last game, but more like just the defense decided to collapse. Yeah, this is a game for Charlotte that, I know it's a road game, and they've only won one road game so far this season, but this is the opportunity for them to get a second one if they, of course, want do it the hard way, face against a really tough schedule, and somehow still emerge to the playoffs, this is definitely a game that they need to get all 3 points. But now moving on in the next match, we got FC Dallas versus the Philadelphia Union, and I believe this is the only matchup where we have, or actually no, I'm sorry, I forgot the LAFC and DC United play a little later tonight, and that's an interconference matchup. But I will say that this is the only interconference matchup that's going to be happening on Wednesday. So whenever you have these interconference matchup, you know that if you are a team in the Eastern Conference, you'll be rooting for the Western Conference team because one of these teams might be in the playoff race, and that they want those Western Conference teams to lose, and vice versa. So, but in this case, I think pretty much every single Western Conference team that is in that playoff battle that we see in the middle of the table are rooting for the Philadelphia Union because they come into this game with a record of 13-9-3 and also are one of the hottest teams in the league and at the top of the Eastern Conference. But they do have to go on the road against FC Dallas, which is another team that has been in great form and have really revitalized themselves with a 10-9-7 record. As this game will start at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 8:08 p.m. local time. Dallas have a 7-4-3 record over the Philadelphia Union, so this is the team that Dallas definitely has the Union number, though most of that number has been at Toyota Park, as they got a 2-0 win against the Philadelphia Union last season. Then the Union did win 2-1 against Dallas, but then it was another 2-0 win against the Union before the Union get a 3-1 win against FC Dallas, and coincidentally, to make a hat trick, they also had another 2-0 win against the Philadelphia Union. Like, that's probably the first time I've seen the team in the last 5 head-to-head meeting. Not only what, the last 5 head-to-head meeting where they beat their opponent by exactly the same scoreline. So something tells me maybe this could be another 2-0 win for FC Dallas, or the fact that Dallas are probably going to win this, because I know the Philadelphia Union, they faced a hot team against the Chicago Fire in the last game, and not only they dispatched them relatively easily, but they smoked them at home. This is now on the road, and while this season the Union have been a pretty good road team, they're not at a level where we would say like LAFC kind of level. Most of the wins that they got this season has been at home, and that for this game and against a Dallas team that have at least now sort of figured out their home format through. Remember how they had a really bad run of form back in May and June where they just cannot win home games? It seems like they have now figured that out, and again, this is going to be the second game in a row where the Union face against a relatively hot team. But the only difference now, and probably more challenging now, is that this is going to be on the road. But now moving on, in the last match of the 6-game matchup that's going to be happening in the middle of the week is the Vancouver Whitecaps versus the Colorado Rapids. So the Rapids 8-7-9, while Vancouver 8-6-11, as this game will start at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. All-time meeting, it's the Rapids with an 11-6-9 advantage over the Vancouver Whitecaps. Last 5 head-to-head matchup, it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams before the Rapids did win 1-0 on the road against Vancouver. Then it was a 2-2 draw between both of these teams. Then the Whitecaps win 3-2 against the Rapids before it was the Rapids also winning on the road 1-0 against the Vancouver Whitecaps. And safe to say that I think this is also a game that you could say to call it the desperation derby of the week. I mean, well, actually, between this one and maybe this one, you could take the fact that both of these teams desperately need to have all 3 points with the way that they're kind of on the tail end in terms of all these teams that are just kind of log jamming each other in the Western Conference. So teams like 3rd all the way down to like 11 plays are still log jammed together, and both of these teams are kind of on the tail end of it and are kind of struggling to keep up. And if they want to keep up, they need to get all 3 points in this one, and we'll see whether or not if either of these teams can do so. I mean, for the Whitecaps, they desperately need 3 points because it's like, what, 1 win in the last 7 games. They have hit a really bad stretch in a pretty worse time to do so. While for the Colorado Rapids, I mean, yes, they did get a road win in the last game, but this is still a team that struggled to win road games. And unless if they can figure out their road form, especially in the last game after they dropped points against the Columbus Crew, and it feels like anytime when you drop points at home when you're not a good road team, it is a devastating blow. So yeah, for the Rapids, they need to of course make up for that, and we'll see if they can do so in this game against the Vancouver Whitecaps. And also, not to mention, a draw will not help either of these teams. In fact, a draw is what a lot of these teams that is around them, or a lot of team that is above them, are hoping that is the case, because that's two less teams to worry about the fact that they'll drop points and that they can maybe get a 2-point advantage depending on those teams if they do win. But that being said, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 6 games? And as always, let me know in the comments below your prediction for these 6 games that's going to be happening on Tuesday and Wednesday. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.